From the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old mannered comic shop owner, Colin McMahon, transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us, true believers, for Comics Now!
Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for September 2021. This is a really special September for me because I opened in 2006, the Tuesday after Labor Day. So this represents my 15th year, so maybe we're gonna make it. So excited about this year, and we're gonna be doing something exciting the weekend of September 11th. We'll do something special to celebrate 15 years. Also, this September, I decided to make it IDW month. They have a ton of stuff. They have Lock and Key, which is kind of coming back with a Sandman book. So I wanted to spotlight the IDW books. They have lots of good horror type titles, and they also do Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we're going to spotlight IDW this month. Lots of stuff going on at the store. It's a 5 Wednesday month, which means we get 5 shipments. So lots and lots of stuff coming out. We're going to start with DC because they have a real big event starting off in September, and it involves Batman. Batman Fear State Alpha is the first book from DC this month, and that is their big kickoff to their big Batman event. Everything's been leading to this. This is kind of leading up to what we had in Future State. And this is going to get us there. So the epic Batman crossover event begins here. Fear State settles upon Gotham City and no one is safe. Overwhelmed by the dual threat of the Scarecrow and Peacekeeper 01, Batman and his allies have been one step behind since the events of Infinite Frontier Zero. And with the arrival of a mysterious anti-Oracle and the return of Poison Ivy, Batman might have more than he can handle. And also, it's crossing over into all the Bat books. So the first one is going to be Batman 112. Batman played into the hands of the Scarecrow, who has unleashed a coordinated attack on Gotham City through its manipulation of Simon Saint and Peacekeeper 01. But there are other facets at work here, with the emergence of an anti-Oracle spreading fake news across all channels and inciting terror and violence in the streets of Gotham. Then we get a second issue of Batman this month, 113. Then we're getting the secret files for Miracle Molly. Discover what led a regular Gothamite to reject their past, name, and humanity to embrace the promise of a blank slate, the promise of the Unsanity Collective. Catwoman 35 is tying in. The Strays disable the Magistrate's communication around Alleytown and replace it with their own ramshackle network. Harley Quinn believes Ivy is the key to helping the city, so she and the Gardener start heading to Alleytown to track down Catwoman and retrieve Ivy. Nightwing 84 ties in. When the Bat family receives misleading information and incorrect directions from Oracle, one's Babs didn't send herself. They realize Oracle's system has been hacked. And Detective 1043. When Mayor Nakano's City Hall office finds itself under siege, the only hero who can help is the man Nakano pledged to run from Gotham, Batman. Also having a new series starting off, I Am Batman #1. This is by John Ridley and Olivier Coipel, and this is the Batman from Future State. In the throes of Future State, the streets of Gotham City cry for justice, and Jace Fox answers the call. With a new and improved Batsuit, Jace hits the streets to inspire and protect. Another Batman, not tying in with an event, but a neat one. It's Batman vs. Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham. And this is by Bill Willingham, who wrote the entire Fables series. And this is crossing over where you have Big Bad Wolf from Fables is now in Gotham. And he and Batman are going to team up to solve a crime. New series. This is by Josh Williamson and Howard Porter, Deathstroke Inc. After suffering too many losses, Slade Wilson decides it's time for a change. When he's enlisted to work with an ages-old secret organization called Trust, who want to take down the heavy hitter villains, he's all in. They'll supply him with an all-new team and resources for his new mission into the depths of the weirdest parts of the DC universe, including a new partner, Black Canary. We have a new Aquaman miniseries, Aquaman the Becoming. This is involving his son. Jackson Hyde finally has it all. Mentors who support him, a community that loves him, an honest relationship with his mother, a cute new guy, and access to Aquaman's training facility in Atlantis. Well, until it blows up with him inside. Now he stands accused of wrecking the life he's worked so hard to build. We also have a Black Manta miniseries. Black Manta is chasing a rare metal with incredible powers, and he's not the only one. Torrid is a former ally who has escaped hell to answer the call of the metal. But can Manta trust her? Harley Quinn has a really popular animated series on, well, I guess now it's HBO Max. That's a little raunchier than most people would expect from a cartoon, but so now they're doing a comic based on the animated series. And it's basically Harley and Ivy on a road trip of the century. We also have a Suicide Squad King Shark series on Lee from the Suicide Squad. King Shark and unfortunate tag-along the Defacer gets swept into a mystical tournament for totemic animal spirits at the behest of King Shark's father, the god of sharks. And lastly, we have Titans United. This is the old Teen Titans team. They face their greatest challenge, their own powers. Now moving on to Marvel, who has a bunch of stuff going on as well. Starting off, Dark Ages. This is by Tom Taylor. A danger older than the Earth threatens everything. For once, the heroes who have saved the planet so many times are almost powerless in the face of it. How will they survive? Inferno. This is wrapping up Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run that started back in House of X and Powers of X. Promises were made and broken. The rulers of Krakoa have been playing a dangerous game with a dangerous woman, and they are about to see how badly that can burn them. Amazing Spider-Man 74 is the end of Nick Spencer's run. It's also issue 875, so it's going to be a big, supersized, wrapping up all the little storylines from his run and tying up everything so that it can start off fresh with issue 75 with a new creative team and stuff. Miniseries Ms. Marvel Beyond the Limit. While on a break visiting her cousin in Chicago, Kamala Khan stumbles upon a robbery at a university physics lab and maybe sets off an explosion of interdimensional proportions in the process. The Darkhold Alpha. Now, the Darkhold is the big evil book in the Marvel Universe. And this is written by Steve Orlando. For hundreds of years, scholars and heroes alike have searched for the complete text of the Darkhold. Now, one of the greatest sorcerers in the multiverse has found it. To save them all, the Scarlet Witch must gather the world's greatest heroes and unleash their inner darkness. Demon Days Cursed Web. This is Peach Momoko doing a series of X-Men books, kind of set in ancient Japan. And Mariko Yoshida's journeys deep in the Black Forest to find answers about her past. Instead, she finds a magical wolf with 3 toes and a girl with a pet spider. But there are deadly creatures in these woods too. A mysterious blue-skinned woman and a giant with super strength and claws. And they're all after Mariko. Death of Doctor Strange. Apparently they've had enough of Doctor Strange and they're killing him off once and for all. So Doctor Strange is the world's greatest neurosurgeon and Earth's sorcerer supreme. He defends our planet from the supernatural and the interdimensional threats no other hero is equipped to handle. But what would happen if he unexpectedly died? Who would protect Earth and keep the mystical evils at bay? Extreme Carnage is continuing with Toxin and Agony, and then we're getting Omega this month, wrapping up the storyline. It's all come down to this. Carnage wins. So, Eternals has a one-shot, Thanos Rises. Eternals are created, not born. They have families, but they make no children. Some of them thought that they could find a way to change that and believed it would be for the best. They were terribly, terribly wrong. Last Annihilation is one of their big outer space events going on. We have Wakanda. With the universe itself at stake, Black Panther enlists the might of the intergalactic empire of Wakanda to help stop the dreaded Dormammu. And we also have Wiccan and Hulkling. The Last Annihilation has hit the Kree-Skrull alliance. Wiccan and Hulkling must split up to simultaneously defend 2 planets against the mindless army. Then X-Men have a little event going on here. Onslaught Revelation. The X-Men's greatest foe, Mutantkind's primal evil, seeps into the minds of its senior leaders. The kids whisper of the Crucible, a party to end all parties, a party to end everything. The seals are broken, the the trumpets have been sounded, and a small band of eccentric mutants can hope to break the fall. Then bringing back an oldie. This was big back in the 70s and 80s. I haven't seen much of him, but Ka-Zar is back in Ka-Zar, Lord of the Savage Land. Ka-Zar is back from the dead with a whole new terrifying set of powers. Now united with Shanna the She-Devil in a mystical merging of life energies, Ka-Zar has new abilities, new needs, and new enemies. An ancient evil has surfaced in the Savage Land, one that is rapidly reshaping the forgotten world and its inhabitants. Ka-Zar and Shanna must fight together to protect their home and family. And lastly, Conan the Barbarian hits issue 25, which just for fun is also issue 300. So they're doing a big celebratory Conan issue to celebrate 300 issues of Conan since it began long ago. Now, moving on to the other guys. Starting off with Image Comics. Primordial #1. This is by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, who just wrapped up Gideon Falls. In 1957, the USSR launched the dog Laika into Earth's orbit. 2 years later, the USA responded with 2 monkeys. These animals never returned, but unbeknownst to everyone, they did not die in orbit. They were taken, and now they are coming home. Frontiersman #1 is a new mini. Frontiersman is coaxed out of retirement by an environmentalist group, only to find that being a spokesperson makes him a target for old and new enemies alike. Dark Horse has another Jeff Lemire book, Maze book. And this one he's actually drawing. A lonely building inspector, still grieving the loss of his puzzle-loving daughter, receives a mysterious phone call one night from a girl claiming it's her, and that she's trapped in the middle of a labyrinth. Stranger Things is a new miniseries coming, The Tomb of Yibwen. It's January 1985. The Hawkins clan survived their battle with the Mind Flayer, but Will and Joyce are still reeling from the recent death of Bob Newby. Will's friends have been too busy with their girlfriends to notice how much he is struggling. After he and Mr. Clark discover a mysterious map Bob left in a box of nerdy memorabilia, Will rallies the crew to investigate. Also have another one, Last Flight Out. With Earth rendered uninhabitable, humanity has chosen to evacuate to the stars, but with just 24 hours left until the last ark leaves forever, its designer's estranged daughter goes missing. The new Hellboy one-shot, Family Ties. Before they can track down an errant copy of Witchcraft and Demonology, Hellboy and the BPRD agent Sujin Zhang are sidetracked by a beset housewife's plea for help. Unraveling the mystery of an unwanted house guest may lead to the occult investigators right to where they wanted to be, but also right into demonic danger. IDW only has a couple new ones, but they love the Halloween theme and they really get into it. So we're getting another batch of Vader's Castle, which has been a little weekly horror-themed Star Wars book that they've done for the last few years. So basically, life is looking up for Lena, Milograph, and Crater, but Milo has been having nightmares about zombie droids. And they're also doing a Transformers Halloween special. I tried to summarize it, but it was too confusing. Dynamite is rolling along. Believe it or not, they have a new Red Sonja series coming with a new #1. This one's written by Mirko Andolfo, who's a real up-and-coming star of comics. Our story begins in a village on fire, set by members of the dreaded Three-Eyed Shezm. When Red Sonja arrives, the only survivor of the flame is a lively child with curious white tattoos. The child will become Sonja's travel companion on a journey from hardened ice to imposing forests, where dangerous secrets wait to be revealed. They're also doing Army of Darkness 1979. Ash is back, baby. And Vampirverse is going to be a bunch of Vampirellas from all different kinds of stories. Vampirella for every kind of story across the fabric of time and space. So Boom has a couple new ones. Maw #1 is a horror book. What happens when one woman becomes the real monster society has always made her out to be. Dragged by her sister Wendy to a feminist retreat on a remote island, Marion hopes to gain some perspective and empowerment that isn't at the bottom of a bottle. But everything is horribly derailed after an assault on their first night there. The violent encounter awakens something in Marion she never imagined, triggering warped mutations in her body and awakening a hunger she can't bring herself to name. They're also doing a Firefly River Run series. How did Simon save River from the terrifying hands of Blue? So if you're a Firefly fan, that's for you. Ablaze is, we're getting to the back of the book and stuff now, but Ablaze has really been doing well with a lot of Conan type stuff, European books, and some horror stuff. And they're doing one now called He Who Fights with Monsters. On All Hallows Eve, a community struggles under the boot of Nazi war machine when supernatural forces come to play a part in the conflict. So kind of a World War II horror book. Aftershock is always doing good stuff, and they have one called The Search for Who. When he left the military, Aaron Say's first thought was providing for his aging parents. His parents' bar is experiencing hard times, and one night it's shot to hell, with his parents critically injured in the attack. But this was no ordinary robbery. Aaron's mother reveals that she fled China to escape a blood feud between two rival gangs, both of which are powerful crime families. Aaron must protect his family from further violence. They also have Almost American. In 2008, husband and wife Russian intelligence operatives walked into the U.S. Embassy in the Dominican Republic to defect, making a deal to trade secrets for new lives. Instead of the American dream, they found themselves caught up in red tape, bureaucracy, and turf wars between the FBI and CIA, all while their past tries to kill them. And then they have a one-shot, big oversized one, 10 Years to Death. A newly hired prison guard, a notorious mass murderer finally incarcerated for his crimes, and the death that binds them together. What happens when the murdered becomes the murderer? AWA is probably one of my big surprise stories from the last couple years, where basically everything they've put out has been a real big hit and really popular. They have a new one from J. Michael Straczynski and Steve Epting called Telepaths. An electromagnetic disturbance results in the sudden awakening of telepathic powers in a tenth of the Earth's population. In the moments after the world comes to grip with this development, newly telepathic Boston police find themselves sent against a wrongly convicted prisoner who becomes a hero and leader of the other telepaths, trying to escape a world in which their powers will make them targets. Both are heroes of their own stories. Mad Cave has been a fun little company doing some neat stuff. In the year The Bountiful Garden, in the year 2200, a team of teenage scientists are sent on a terraforming mission to a distant planet. Selected as the best and brightest of their generation, they are all put into cryostasis. When they are awakened abruptly, 10 years too early, halted above a strange planet, the teens are tasked with trying to figure out why they're stalled and what stalled them. Scout has been putting out a lot of neat books. One, Impossible Jones, is coming up. A thief gets powers, is mistaken for a superhero, and runs with it, with no intention of giving up her criminal ways. And Night of the Cadillacs. Rival supernatural gangs come to Earth on an overnight raiding mission to retrieve life-restoring blood from humans. While the gangs battle amongst themselves for prized captives, a defiant and charismatic gangbanger breaks free from its crew to go on the run with a rebellious 18-year-old human girl to protect her from his predatory family. Titan does all sorts of stuff, lots of video game stuff, but this is an interesting one called Gun Honey. When a gun smuggled into a high-security prison leads to the escape of a brutal criminal, weapon smuggler Joanna Tan is enlisted by the U.S. government to find the man she set loose and bring him down. And then Vault is always one of my favorites, with all sorts of fun, mostly hero and horror and sci-fi stuff. They have a new miniseries from the World of Darkness book called Crimson Thaw. Cecily has become everything she never wanted as the Prince of the Twin Cities. But her rule over a fractured, backbiting vampire court is interrupted by an intruder, something big, hairy, and full of teeth. Good. She was missing a good scrap. And Human Remains, this is from Peter Milligan. Dax and Bisa love each other, but in this new and terrifying world, love is dangerous, or feeling anything is dangerous. Earth has a new and terrible invader, monsters that deprive us of our very feelings that make us human. So that's most of the new number ones that are going to be coming out. Of course, all the other stories are continuing. If you're loving Flash, that's still going on, and things like that. So Please stop by. We got a lot going on this month. Check out, keep an eye on my social media, and I'll let you know what's going on for the 15th anniversary celebration. Like I said, we're doing IDW month, so double points on all IDW graphic novels this month. So, as always, if you have any questions, please, you can reach us at the store. The website's pittsburghcomics.com. Facebook is Pittsburgh Comics. Twitter and Instagram are PGH Comics. So, thanks for watching, and stay tuned to Comic Previews Theater. See ya.
These are the stakes to make a world in which all human children can live or return to the dark. We must protect one another, or die. Keep our streets ours. Call your representatives and tell them that you support the Friends of Humanity.
Can you believe this guy, Dad?
Friends of Humanity. Some of your best friends aren't human.
Not all my friends are bonded to me on a cellular toxin.
Something isn't right about Crane, Ren. Every word is like a drumbeat in my head.
Who? Crane? I don't need some senator telling me what to be afraid of, son. But these days, he's not wrong about aliens. Gotta protect your own kind.
And that's what you're doing at Alchemex?
Promotion's a promotion. Start helping with the bills. Then you can worry how they get paid.
Sorry, sir.
And some dad you got there, Bren. I should know. You're sweating. Want me to pedal for a while?
Someone attacked Alchemex toxin. My dad's working today.
For the people vivisecting aliens like me. Favorite bad influence.
Dad's just a security guard, and it's symbiote ground zero over there.
No one's just a security guard at Alphabex. They got guards patrolling the skies, Bren.
That can be tough, but I'm all he's got. You know what? To hell with that guardsman. Let him try to stop us. We're wasting time. You can take over and swing us there in half the time, Toxin. Hey, Toxin. You okay? Where'd you go?
I hear your damn drums. And even if I didn't, you forgot to pick up your tools. All these ghosts left in this world. You might as well sign for one.
I'm surprised you're alive to find it.
It really is. Didn't Brock kill you?
Brock? That absentee god's got a whole universe of problems. He doesn't care about me. Or you. How many ass-kickings does it take for you to see? You never were too good at surviving on your own.
I'm not in the market for a reunion. What the hell do you want?
To forgive you, son. You just keep dying and embarrassing me.
Some of those deaths were by your hand.